Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to cover an SAT practice test. As usual, if you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe and leave a comment to support the channel. Thank you very much. Okay, question 1 says if 5x plus 6 equals 10, what is the value of 10x plus 3? So let's write that down. 5x plus 6 equals 10. Now since we want 10x, let's subtract 6 first. You would get 5x equals 4. And now rather than dividing by 5 and solving for x, since I care about 10x, I'm just going to double this side and double that side. And I would get 10x equals 8. And since I want 10x plus 3, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And I'll get 10x plus 3 equals 11. So the answer is 11. Okay, so in part 1, I covered the one quick way to do this, and that's to say, look, 5x plus 6 equals 10. If I subtract 6 from both sides, I get 5x equals 4. If I double both sides, I get 10x equals 8. And then if I add 3, I get 10x plus 3 equals 11. And I'm done with the answer C. But there is another way to do that, and that's to say, look, I have 5x plus 6 right now. Why don't I just double everything? So if you double everything, you get 10x plus 12 equals 20. And you want 10x plus 3, so you have to remove 9. In that part, you have to see kind of see that 12 minus 9 gives you 10x plus 3. And this gives you 11. So the answer is 11. Now, some students may say, well, I'm more comfortable finding the value of x before I proceed. I need to find the value of x. So in that case, you can do that. You can do 5x plus 6 equals 10. You subtract 6, you get 5x equals 4. You divide by 5, and you get the value that x is equal to 4/5. And we hold on to that real quick. And then, from there, we want 10x plus 3. So we would do 10 times 4/5 plus 3. Now, 10 times 4/5 to do on your own, it ends up being 10 times 4 over 5. You can do 40 over 5 to get 8, or you can reduce this to 2 and 1. 2 times 4, you get 8, so this will come out to 8 plus 3, and you get 11, which is answer C. Also, you might say, well, I'm more comfortable with decimals, and so 4/5 is 0.8. But another way to see that 4/5 is 0.8 is to say, well, 4/5 is the same as times 2 times 2, 8/10, which is 0.8. And then maybe you're comfortable doing it that way, 10 times 0.8. Let me clear some room. Maybe you're comfortable doing it with a decimal, 10 times 0.8. So you would get 10 times 0.8, which you have to figure out is 8 plus 3, and you get 11 that way too. So there are many ways to get 11. Okay, question 2 says which of the following ordered pairs x, y satisfies the system of equations above. Instead of trying them all out, I'm just going to solve the system. You see the y's can line up very nicely. So let's just double this equation. So you would get 2x plus 2y equals 0. And you write the other one down, 3x minus 2y equals 10. And then we add up these equations. You get 5x equals 10. You divide by 5. X equals 2, so we have an answer which is B, because that's the only one where x is 2. A landscaping company estimates the price of a job in dollars using the expression 60 plus 12NH, where N is the number of landscapers who will be working, and H is the number of hours the job will take using N landscapers. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the number 12 in the expression here, 12? Okay, so we have 60 plus 12 NH. This 60 is in dollars because it says 60 is in dollars. That means this entire right side must come out to dollars at the end of the day. So this is this N stands for landscapers. This H stands for hours per landscaper. So these will cancel. So now we have hours already. So this must stand for dollars per hour so that we can get dollars at the end of the day. So this 12 has a unit of dollars per hour. $12 per hour, that's correct. 12 landscapers, that's not what we want. Increase by 12 per hour, that's not what we want. 12 hours a day, that's not what we want. So the answer is A. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? So we have this expression above. And we know when we square a binomial, if you square a binomial x plus y squared, you get x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. So let's try squaring A. And you would get this item squared plus 2 of both of them plus the last item squared, which is 2b squared. And in here you would get 3a squared and 2b squared. 3a squared, when you square it, you have to square it to 3 and you have to square it to a squared, 9a fourth. Here you get 2 times 3 times 2, which is 12. You also have a squared, b squared. And here, 2 squared is 4, and b squared is b to the fourth. And this matches what we're given at the beginning, so the answer is A. If you open up this one, your first term will become 81a to the fourth. This one also, your first term will become 9 to the fourth, which is very big, a to the fourth. And this one, if you open up, you won't get a trinomial, but in any case, your first term will be 81a to the fourth, because 3 to the fourth is 81. Question 5 says, all this minus x equals 0. If k is positive and x equals 7 in the equation above, what is the value of k? So x is 7. So let's write that down. The square root of 2k squared plus 17 minus 7 equals 0, because x is 7. You add 7 here, add 7 here. The square root of 2k squared plus 17 equals 7. We're going to square both sides, and you get 2k squared plus 17 equals 49. You minus away the 17 on both sides. You get 2k squared equals 32. Divide by 2, k squared is 16. So k would be plus or minus 4. However, k is positive, so k is only 4. So the answer is C. Okay, question 6 says, in the xy plane above, line L is parallel to line K. What is the value of P, this P right there? Okay, so if they're parallel, then they have the same slope. So let's find the slope of line L. Let's recall that the slope formula, slope would be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so the slope of line L would be 2 minus 0 over 0 minus negative 5, which is 2/5. So the slope of line K has to also be 2/5. Let's find the slope of line K. It's 0 minus negative 4 over p minus 0, and that must be 2/5. So from here, 0 minus negative 4 is 4, and the bottom is p equals 2/5. If you can see by observation that this 4 is double of the 2, so that p must be double of the 5, and p has to be 10, then you can get the answer of 10 immediately. Another way is to cross multiply, and you get 2p equals 4 times 5, so 2p equals 20. 2p equals 20, and when you divide by 2, you still get p equals 10, so the answer is 10. Number 7 says if x raised to this power over x raised to that power equals x to the 16th, and x is greater than 1. Also, a plus b equals 2. What's the value of a minus b? Okay, since these have the same base, we can simplify this left side to subtract the exponent. So it's x to the power of a squared minus b squared. Let's remind ourselves of the exponent property. If you have a to the m over a to the n, this can be rewritten as a to the m minus n. And that's what I did over here. So that is equal to x to the 16. So we have a squared minus b squared equals 16. A squared minus b squared equals 16. And a squared minus b squared is a difference of squares, so we're going to factor that into a plus b, a minus b equals 16. Now a plus b is 2. That means that this left parenthesis is just 2. Then you have a minus b equals 16. So let me write that somewhere higher. 2 times a minus b equals 16. 2 times a minus b equals 16. Finally, if you divide by 2, you can get that a minus b has to be 8. 16 divided by 2. So the answer is A. Moving on to number 8, it says n times a is 360. The measure a in degrees of an exterior angle of a regular polygon is related to the number of sides n of the polygon by the formula above. If the measure of an exterior angle of a regular polygon is greater than 50 degrees, what is the greatest number of sides it can have? So we have some choices. Now, if this particular polygon had 8 sides, then you would have 8a equals 360. And a itself is more than 50. But 8 times 50 already is 400. So a is greater than 50, so 8a must be greater than 400, and it won't be 360. So it's not D. So let's try 7. 7 times 50 is 350, so 7a just has to be larger than 350. So yes, 7a can be 360. It's possible for 7a to be 360. If a is some number, a is 360 divided by 7, which is greater than 50. So the answer is C. Question 9 says the graph of a line in the xy plane has slope 2 and contains the point 1, 8. There's a second line which passes through the points 1, 2 and 2, 1. If the two lines intersect at the point AB, what's the value of A plus B? Okay, so the first line has a slope of 2 and contains the point 1, 8. Let's use point slope, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we're going to do y minus 8 equals 2 times x minus 1. And y minus 8 is 2x minus 2. We'll add 8 to both sides, and you get y equals 2x plus 6. So that's one of the equations. Let's do the other one. 1, 2, and 2, 1. Let's first find the slope for that. So we use the slope formula, 1 minus 2 over 2 minus 1. This is negative 1 over 1, which is negative 1. So the second line, let's find the equation of the second line, which is y minus 1 equals negative 1 x minus 2. So this is y minus 1 equals negative x plus 2. And let me clear some of this stuff. Okay. And if we continue that from there, let me rewrite that. Y minus 1 equals negative x plus 2. Let's add 1 here and add 1 here. So you have y equals negative x plus 3. So these are the two equations we have. And we want to know where they meet. So we'll set them equal to each other and solve. Let's clear all this out. Okay. So we have negative x plus 3 equals 2x plus 6. We're going to add x here, as well as subtract away the 6. Oops, sorry. Okay, so we have plus 3 minus 6 is negative 3 equals 3x. So if you divide by 3, you get x equals negative 1. And I'm going to put that into either of these equations. Let's use this one. Y equals 2 times negative 1 plus 6, which it comes out to 4. So the solution would be negative 1 comma 4. Now they want us to add those up, negative 1 plus 4, so you get 3 as your answer, which is B. Question 10 says, which of the following equations has a graph in the xy plane for which y is always greater than or equal to negative 1? Now, the first graph is the absolute value graph, and it's been translated down by 2 units. So it will look like this, negative 2. The problem with this graph is its y is always greater than or equal to negative 2, not negative 1. So that's not our graph. This one says x squared minus 2, so it's the parabola. But again, it's been shifted down 2 units. And once again, x would be, the y coordinate would always be negative 2 or greater. But we want negative 1 or greater. So that's not it either. This one says x minus 2 squared. So it is the parabola, but it's been shifted 2 units to the right. So here's 2, and it's been shifted 2 units to the right. This one, the y coordinate is 0 or greater at all times. So that could be it. This is y greater than or equal to 0. This is y greater than or equal to negative 2. This is y greater than or equal to negative 2. And the final graph, x cubed minus 2. The x cubed graph has a range of all real numbers. And even when you shift this down 2 units, the range is still all real numbers. So this one, y is all real numbers. You could write negative infinity to infinity. So in any case, y can take on any value for part D. Okay, so we want one of these 4 where y is always greater than or equal to negative 1. Now this one, for part A and part B, since y goes to negative 2, those can't be it. And option D, y can take on any value, so that's not it either. Option C, y can only take on values that are 0 or greater, and all those values are greater than negative 1. So the answer is C, because y greater than or equal to 0 will include everything in here is guaranteed to be at least negative 1, because it's 0 or more. Question 11 says, which of the following complex numbers is equivalent to this stuff? Now, and they want you to note that I is the square root of negative 1. Okay, so whenever you divide this by this, what you want to do is multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. Now I use that word conjugate, and the conjugate of a plus b is a minus b. So the conjugate of a plus 2i is going to be 8 minus 2i. So let's work with that. Let's do 3 minus 5i over 8 plus 2i. And we're going to multiply by a fraction. And the conjugate of 8 plus 2i is 8 minus 2i. And we do that on the top and the bottom, 8 minus 2i. All right. So what you get now would be, we have to FOIL this out, top and bottom. This times this. Let me change that a little bit. And this times this. Okay, let's do the numerator. 3 times 8, 24, minus 6i, minus 40i, and then minus and minus becomes plus 10i squared. So let's leave that alone for now. And the denominator, 8 times 8, 64, minus 16i, plus 16i, and then plus and minus makes minus 4i squared. Okay, from here we note that I squared is negative 1. So this I squared will be -1, and that I squared at the bottom also. So let's keep going. So what you have, let's do the denominator first. These two are going to cancel out, and you have 64 minus 4 times -1. 64 minus 4 times -1, because I squared is -1. This is 68. All this will come out to 68. 64 plus 4. So let's go ahead and write that in right now as 68. All right, now the numerator. 24 minus 6i minus 40i is minus 46i, minus 46i. And here we have plus 10i squared, which is plus 10 times -1. So you have 24 subtract 10, because this is minus 10, which leaves you with 14 minus 46i over 68. Now, we're almost done. And what I want to do is to simplify that a little bit. So let me clean up some room here. That should be good. And let's continue. So we have 14 over 68. I'm gonna rewrite this up here. So we have 14 over 68 minus 46i over 68. I split it up into two fractions because the options that we have involve that. 14 over 68 can be reduced because they're both even numbers. You can divide by 2 here and divide by 2 here. Oops. And you would get 7 over 34. And here, we can divide these by 2 also. 23 over 34i. And so we have our answer, 7 over 34 minus 23i over 34, which is option C. Question 12 says, R equals F over N plus F. A website uses the formula above to calculate a seller's rating, R, based on the number of favorable reviews, F, and unfavorable reviews, N. Which of the following expresses the number of favorable reviews in terms of the other variables? So they want you to solve for F. Okay, let's write that down. R equals F over N plus F. The first thing I want to do is I want to multiply by N plus F on both sides. And this one will multiply by N plus, it's not going to fit in there, so this is going to multiply by N plus F. This is multiplying. So you can distribute, you get Rn plus Rf equals F, because these are gone. Okay, and now let's subtract Rf on both sides, because we want the F on one side, so minus Rf minus Rf. Then you get Rn equals F minus Rf. Okay, since we're solving for F, we're going to factor out the F on the right side. 1 minus R. And you have Rn. We're almost done. If you divide by 1 minus R now, we are done. 1 minus R. And F would be Rn over 1 minus R, which ends up being choice B. Question 13 says, what is the sum of all values of m that satisfy this equation? Now this is a quadratic equation, and I'll show you a few ways to do this problem. So the first method is to solve it, get the two solutions, and add those up. That's one way, and we'll do that right now. So 2m squared minus 16m plus 8 equals 0. First thing we note is that these are all even numbers. So how about we divide everything by 2? So m squared minus 8m plus 4 equals 0. Now from here, we can't factor this, so we're going to use a quadratic formula. We have to memorize the quadratic formula, which is if you have a quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, then the roots are x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and you divide everything you have by 2a. And you have two solutions. Now, we're going to use that formula, which we have to memorize, in order to get the two roots for this particular quadratic equation. Okay, let's write down what a, b, and c are first of all. A would be 1 because this is 1m squared. B would be -8. There's a -8 there. And c would be 4, the 4 at the end. Okay, so m, in this case is m. Oops. Would be negative b plus or minus the root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now, the b is -8, so let's put that in. The b goes into here, because it says -b, so -8 there. And here also takes the b, so b is -8. And then a is 1. Let's use pink for that. So a is 1. A goes here and here. And c is 4, so let's use green for that. So the c is 4 right there. Boom. Okay. And you have, let's continue, equals -8 is +8. And you have plus or minus. It really doesn't matter what happens in here because we're going to add the two roots. So this will cancel. I'll show you later what that means. But this is 64. -8 when you square is 64 minus 16 all over 2. This ends up being 8 plus or minus 64 minus 16 is 48, and you divide that by 2. All this is irrelevant because we are going to add the two roots. Why do I say all this is irrelevant? Because at the end of the day, what happens is one of your roots will be 8 plus root 48 over 2, and the other one will be 8 minus root 48 over 2. This is the first root, and this is the second root. And we have to sum those roots up. And when you sum those roots up, what you find is that the plus root 48 and the minus root 48 will cancel out, and you simply have 8 over 2 plus 8 over 2. So you end up with 4 plus 4, and so the answer is 8. That's one way to do this problem. There's another way. Another way is that when you have a quadratic equation, the sum of the roots will always be -b over a. And for added information, the product of the roots will be c over a. We're not going to use that for this problem, but -b over a is useful. So you can do it right now or even with the simplified version. Right now, if you do -b over a, the b is -16, right there, and the a is 2. You end up with 16 over 2, you end up with 8, which is option D. You can also do it with the simplified version if you'd like. So divide this by 2 and you would have m squared minus 8m plus 4 equals 0, like what we did earlier. And now you do -b over a, -b over a, where the b is -8, right there, and the a is 1. And you still end up with 8 over 1, or simply 8, which is still option D. Question 14 says, a radioactive substance decays at an annual rate of 13%. If the initial amount of the substance is 325 grams, which of the following functions f models the remaining amount of the substance in grams t years later? Okay, for these exponential equations, you would normally have y equals a times b to the x, and that's what they have here. It's just that they use f of t, and it's a times b to the t. That's all. But really, what we want, the A is the initial value. So the A that we want to use is 325 grams. That's why this is not going to be it, because this doesn't use 325, and this one as well. So it's down to choices A and B only. Okay. And the difference between these two, 0.87 and 0.13, if you're going to decay at an annual rate of 13%, that means you have to use 1 minus 0.13. And of course, the 325 is there. So 1 minus 0.13, we have to do this with our calculator. This is 0.87. So that's why the answer is indeed a choice A. The thing about choice B is that it is not a 13%. It's not decaying at an annual rate of 13%. Choice B is actually decaying at an annual rate of 87%. That's why it says this. But we want 13% decay, so we would do choice A. Question 15 says the expression 5x minus 2 over x plus 3 is equivalent to which of the following? So we have 4 choices. Now, there are many ways to approach this problem. I'll show you a few of them. One method is to use long division. And if you do long division, you would do x plus 3 here, 5x minus 2. It's always good to know long division before you take the SATs. 5x divided by x is 5. 5 times x is 5x, where we're going to subtract it later. 5 times 3 is 15, but we're going to subtract it later. You end up with negative 17 as a remainder. So the final answer is 5 minus 17 over x plus 3, which is choice D. That's one way. So another way is to use synthetic division. And when you divide by x plus 3, you'll have to put negative 3 up in the air and write down the coefficients of this, which is 5 and negative 2. 5 and negative 2. And what you have here is you bring the 5 down. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. And then you add these up, you get negative 17. Once again, this is the remainder. This is a constant. So your final answer is 5 minus 17 over x plus 3, which is what they have for choice D. You can also write this as 5 plus negative 17 over x plus 3, which is equivalent. But either way, you're going to get option D. The third way is to say, okay, look, I'm just going to try a value for x and see which of these match. Okay, and that method, in that method, a good value to plug in would be negative 2. Why negative 2? Because if you put negative 2 into here, you get a 1 in the denominator, which is it's very easy to divide by 1. Okay, so we're going to use negative 2. We're going to try x equals negative 2. This is another method. So let's plug it in. You get 5 times negative 2 minus 2 over negative 2 plus 3. As promised, the denominator is 1, which makes it very easy to work with. You end up with negative 10 minus 2 on the numerator over 1. This is negative 12. Okay, that means if I plug negative 2 into one of these, I should get negative 12. It would be unfortunate if more than one option gave me negative 12, because then that wouldn't narrow it down enough. But this, if this one has no x involved, and this is not even remotely close, but this is 1, 5 minus 2 over 3, and this is 5 minus 2/3, so it's 4 1/3. So neither of these is negative 12, so those can be eliminated. And if you plug negative 2 into here, you get 5 minus 2 over, we can see that this denominator is going to go to 1. So this is 5 minus 2, which is 3. So that's not it. And for D, you would get 5 minus 17 over negative 2 plus 3. Remember, we're plugging in negative 2 for our test number. Okay. This ends up being, this is a 1, so you have 5 minus 17, which is indeed negative 12, which is what we were shooting for. So the answer is option D using this method. Question 16 says the sales manager of a company
awarded a total of $3,000 in bonuses to the most productive salespeople. The bonuses were awarded in amounts of either $250 or $750. If at least one $250 bonus and one $750 bonus were awarded, what is one possible number of $250 bonuses awarded? Okay, one possible number. Now, to make 3,000, you can do it in various ways. One way that you cannot do it would be 750 times 4. That is 3,000. However, they said that they gave out at least one $250 bonus. So you can't just do 750 times 4 and then there isn't a single $250 bonus. Also, the other way is 250 times 12, because times 4 is 1,000, and then times 3 from there is 3,000. This is also 3,000, but this is not possible because this way does not involve a single $750 bonus being awarded. So it's not these extremes. So there are several different ways you can go about this. I would say one way we could do it would be, okay, let's do, for simple math, since all this has to be done without a calculator, let's do 750 times 2, which is 1,500. And let's do 250 times 6, which is 1,500. And that's how you can get 3,000. One possible combination is to do 6 of these awards and 2 of those. So one answer you could go with is 6. And there are several other ways you can go about getting an answer that isn't 6. I'll go over one of them. So one of them would be, how about 750 times 3? The problem with this, you have to do all this mental math. This is 2250, and there's still 750 left over, so 250 times 3, 750. So another possible answer is 3. And in fact, there's one more answer, which is 750 times 1, which is 750. And then you need another 2250 from here, which is 9. So another answer is 9. So the answers, the 3 possible answers are 3 or 6 or 9. And you can pick any one of them. Question 17 says, if all that equals ax squared plus bx plus c, in the equation above, a, b, and c are constants. If the equation is true for all values of x, what is the value of b? Now b is the coefficient of x. Just the coefficient of x. So how about we distribute all of this out and then compare. So 2x times 3x is 6x squared plus 10x plus 9x plus 15. And this comes out to 6x squared plus 19x plus 15. And if you compare the b is 19 because that's the coefficient of x. So the answer is 19. Question 18 says in the figure above, AE is parallel to CD, so these are parallel. And segment AD intersects CE at point B. What is the length of segment CE? Which is this A plus this other part here. Okay, so since these are parallel, these two angles are congruent. They're alternate interior angles. These two are also congruent. Let me write that a little neater. Finally, this angle here is congruent to this angle because they are vertical angles. So what we have is a case of similar triangles. Now, we'd like to find CB so we can find CE later. But first let's find CB or BC. And BC, we'll do a proportion. So BC compared to what side on this triangle? Well, it's between the 2 and the 3 stripes angles. So you can find that over here. 2 and 3, so BC over 8. And then we just need something else to compare with, like BD, which is 5. So let me write down BD first, so we can set up the proportion. BD is between the 1 and the 3. Here, the 1 and 3 is 10, which is AB. So these are 5 and 10. Let's put those numbers in. I just wanted to show where I got those from. This is 5 and this is 10. Okay, BC over 8 is 5 over 10. Now quick math will say 5 over 10 is half, so BC has to be 4. And we can work with that. You can cross multiply, but let's go with BC over 8 equals 1/2 times 8 here, times 8 here. And you can get BC is 4. BC is 4. And that's not the final answer, but I just want to show you how to get BC. BC is 4. But I'll show you the other way to get BC, if you're comfortable cross-multiplying. And cross-multiplying says, okay, 10 times BC equals 5 times 8. So 10 times BC equals 5 times 8, which is 40. And when you divide by 10 and divide by 10, you will still get that BC is 4. So BC is 4. The final answer is CE, which is from here all the way to here, which is this 4 plus this 8. 4 plus 8. So your final answer is 12. Question 19 says, in the XY plane above, O is the center of the circle, and the measure of angle AOB, which is this angle over here, you just trace it from A to O to B, and an angle is formed. This particular angle here is pi over A radians. What is the value of A? Okay, we have to find that angle. We know the root 3 and the 1. So one of the special triangles that you can find on the cover of the SAT, in fact, let's bring that out right now. So I've now included the special right triangles. The one we're going to use is the one with the square root of 3 written in there. So we're going to use this one for this question. And I'm going to redraw this a little bit because you can see okay. This is root 3 and 1. I mean, and the x-coordinate is root 3. If you draw a line down here and form a triangle, O to that point is root 3. So you have root 3, and this height is 1. So this is 1, this is root 3. And this looks exactly like this triangle, except, you know, with the x being 1. And just for completeness, this happens to be 2, but they didn't ask for that. They're asking for this angle here, and we now know it is a 30-degree angle. And the only question is how do I convert that to radians? And one way we can do that is to know that 180 degrees is pi radians. And so 30 degrees you have to divide by 6. And then you get 30 degrees is pi over 6 radians. So the answer is that the value of A, this A sitting down there, has to be 6. So the answer is 6. Question 20 says, in the system of equations above, A and B are constants. If the system has infinitely many solutions, what's the value of A over B? Now, if they have infinitely many solutions, that means that one of them is a multiple of the other. They are equivalent equations. And so 12 and 60, you can see that if you multiply this by 5, you would get 5ax plus 5by equals 60. And here you would get 2x plus 8y equals 60. Okay. One way you could do this would be that 5a equals 2. 5a equals 2. And 5b equals 8. You're just comparing these. So 5b is 8. 5b equals 8. You could solve for A and you could solve for B. And let's do that. That's one way. A would be 2/5. B would be 8/5 by solving these problems, these equations. And then your final answer would be A over B, which is 2/5 divided by 8/5, which is 2/5 times 5/8, which is 2/8, which is a quarter. So the answer is 1/4. And another way you could do that is to say, okay, now that we have 5a here, and 5b here, we could just divide them right now. 5a divided by 5b, well, 5a is 2, and 5b is 8. And 5a divided by 5b is simply a over b. It reduces to a over b. And that's 2/8, which happens to be 1/4. So the answer is 1/4. Thank you for watching. If you found the video helpful, please like and subscribe. And also leave a comment in the comment section. And I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much.